features the UHDS-102 provides include the ability to split a full HDMI signal between two monitors. That signal could be spread over 30 meters of distance between those monitors. The splitter provides support for a full HD signal, internal conditioning of that signal to ensure you get the clearest picture possible, and finally, a full metal enclosure to reduce interference from outside signal sources. Now we'll take a closer look at the parts that come with the kit, which include a splitter and the power supply. The power supply is a standard 5-volt DC power supply. It's very simple to use. Plug this end into the wall, this connector gets plugged into the back, and you're all set. On the front panel of the splitter, you've got a series of LEDs running left to right that indicate good power, good input, connection to the output monitor 1 and connection to output monitor 2. When you first connect this up, the power indicator will test to make sure that you've got a valid 5-volt DC power supply and it's working fine, and that will light up. On the back, there are connections for the input and 2 monitor outputs. The input connection would come from your media device. So if it's your DVD player or your cable box, once you plug that in, the unit tests to make sure that HDMI connection is valid and secure, and it actually lights up. So once that lights up, you know you have a great HDMI connection from the device. These two indicate connections to your monitors. So when you connect up your first monitor here, again, that HDMI connection is tested from the unit. When it assesses that that connection is good and valid, it'll light up. Same thing will happen on output 2. I'll show you those connections in a minute. The EDID switch over here has to do with the different timing standards on HDMI. It also has to do with security. And you really don't have to worry about figuring out which one of these works because you can just flip between them. So I would leave it on standard to start with, and if it works fine, just leave it alone. If you're having issues or the picture's not quite right, you can flip that switch. I would recommend powering it down, powering it back up by simply unplugging the connection on the back and plugging it back in, and that should solve your problems for you. Most companies don't give you that switch, so you're stuck from the factory, either one or the other, and you'll find that some of those won't work with your components. On the back of the unit, here are connections for power, again, DC 5 volts. This is your HDMI in, that comes from the components of your DVD player or your cable box. That's your first monitor connection, and that's your second monitor connection. My recommendation is always to make these connections first, then power up the unit. That way you've got these connected firmly and you're not getting any kind of spikes from plugging them in while the unit's up. But you can do it either way, but again, the recommendation is to make sure these are all plugged in and then power up the unit. And that's pretty much it. It's a very simple device to use, does a really nice job of splitting a standard HDMI signal between 2 different monitors or widescreen displays.